start out with a laugh here.
I know.
All right. Well, welcome back to Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney.
And we just got done watching the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And it was exciting, but I mean, it was exciting, but then it wasn't. I don't know. I left disappointed.
I did too, especially compared to last year. I was just like,
Yeah.
wait, what? So, but
it was good. It was good. I feel like, honestly, it was more exciting. The after the race was like more exciting than during, but we'll get to that. We don't want to jump ahead here.
Yeah, for sure. Let's make sure we go in the correct order of operations.
That's right.
This time.
That's right. We're trying to keep to a agenda and a schedule here. We're going to try real hard.
I don't know if that's going to work though.
I don't know if it's going to work either, but we're going to try. But okay, so let's start out with just practice general. I watched the practice sessions. There wasn't really anything too exciting going on. One thing I did take notice of during those sessions was that a lot of the drivers seemed to be like driving over those new curbs and kind of running their car along those curbs, like the bottom of the floor on the car. And so I thought that was honestly going to be more of like an issue for people with damages and things going on, taking those curbs so rough. But like, we didn't really see that. So
yeah, and we also didn't see a lot of people running out of that turn at the very end, going into the last straightaway. There wasn't as much as I thought was going to happen there.
Yeah. No, I really thought we were going to see more of that. But so maybe those changes that they made on the track were positive and helped the drivers out. So
Yeah.
for sure. So really practice, it was domination by Max and Checo and Alonso. Like the three of them just kind of swapped places during those sessions. So P1, we had Max first, followed by Checo, followed by Alonso. And then in the second practice session, we had Max, Alonso, Checo. And then in the third, it was Max, Checo, Alonso again. So it was just kind of like them swapping places. One thing too, in that third practice session, Nick wasn't able to get out and drive because he had a power unit issue, and they ended up switching out that power unit, which to me, I was like really stressed out for him too, because he hasn't driven this track in a race before. And so I was like, oh my God, that's like valuable time for him to get out and practice. And like, he wasn't able to do that, but it didn't really seem to affect him super negatively.
Yeah.
In that he crashed or anything like that.
Yeah, but the other thing with it is the fact that they did have to change out the power unit.
Yeah.
So that means he's eating into already another power unit this early in the season, kind of like Ferrari.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit like, ugh, like, how do you feel about that? You know what I mean? Like, it's nerve-wracking as a driver knowing this early in the season I'm already having issues, you know?
Yeah. Well, we saw it with a lot of different drivers. So like, he had to change. So now if he has to change again, he's going to get a grid penalty. We talked about Charles having his grid penalty in our pre-race episode. And so he ended up taking that engine penalty and having a 10-spot grid penalty. Also, too, Checo had a new gearbox this weekend, and they ended up changing, I believe, Max's as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like I feel like we're seeing a lot of these like engine changes and like people having to use different components a lot sooner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Than what we expected. So I don't know what that means because I'm not an engineer, but
well, I think it makes the rest of the season super interesting, right? Like, especially like when we start getting towards summer break, after summer break, it's kind of like, okay, how is this going to play out? You know what I mean? Are we going to see teams that are really, really close in the constructors championship, and then all of a sudden taking lots of grid penalties every week because of things that are going on, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, lots of different teams kind of suffering from different issues. And it's very early to be only the second race having to do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
okay, so on to qualifying. And this was like, I thought it was a really exciting qualifying because there was like pretty much everyone is like outside of Red Bull is like so close to each other at this point that like, I mean, it's so close and it's kind of like anybody's game, really. So that was interesting to see.
Well, and not only that, but like within qualifying, my favorite thing was definitely Logan. And I felt so bad for him.
I know.
Whenever he threw down such a good time and
he really did.
He won, and like then so essentially what happened was he threw down such a good time. He's in first place. I mean, no one was even close to his times, and everyone had already done fast laps. And poor Logan, they had changed the rules, I guess, this year, like whatnot, is coming out of the final turn down the straightaway on the left-hand side, like towards like the pit lane. There's this pink kind of area. And before, the rule was always just kind of like everywhere else on the track, as long as all like at least one of your tires is inside the white line, like
you're fine.
You're not exceeding track limits. Exactly. But then this time they told him any part of your tire touches the pink, then you're going to like lose your lap time on that. And what did he do? He barely touched it.
I know.
On that, and his time got deleted. And I that was hard for me because you could tell, like even when he was on the radio, he was like, how did I even go out there? Like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
So that was hard on him.
And then I don't know if you saw this, but there was this heartbreaking like camera shot of him after that when he got out of the car. Yeah, and they only showed it for like a split second. And I was like, no, poor him. Yeah, it was so sad. And then, but he made a really good point too afterwards in an interview. He was like, you know, they didn't really police that during any of the practice sessions. Yes. To kind of like drive that point home to anybody of like, you're not supposed to go over in this area. So
or I think the FIA was going to be that strict.
Right. So I think if they're going to be strict on something like that and kind of, you know, enforce rules like that, they need to be standard with it and consistent and enforce those rules during practice too, even though it doesn't count for anything during practice, but that's when you're
the
learning.
Drivers learn.
Right. So yeah, that was definitely disappointing. And then after that, like he wasn't able to do his like a second attempt or anything because I think he kind of psyched himself out. And remember he like spun out during his second attempt. And so that was, I was like, oh, poor baby. Hard lesson to learn for him, for sure.
Oh, it is. And he's a rookie. So, I mean, these are all the things he's going to learn going like at the beginning. And that's the hard part about it.
Right.
You know, and I feel bad, but hopefully he remembers that for the future. And now he knows like, okay, if there's types of rules or things that are being communicated to them before races, he needs to pay attention to it, you know?
Yeah.
And then off of that, like talking about spinning out and things like that, Lando hitting the wall.
That was shocking. And
I was just like, that's a rookie mistake.
Really it was. And like shocking coming from him. Like I could see that from Oscar, who is a rookie, but like Lando, that was shocking. That was like a driver error that he doesn't typically make, really. And so that was also frustrating for him too, because he was like disappointed in himself, obviously.
Well, yeah. And he didn't even make it out of he didn't even make it out of that round because I mean he damaged his car in the process. And the worst part was it wasn't even coming out of a turn. He hit that wall going into the turn, and
it was like he turned too soon. Like it was like a too early of a turn. And then I mean just clipped his I guess over the left wheel. left front wheel, and then they had to replace that. And then it was like they were showing the mechanics and everybody like working on that, and they were like feverishly trying to like do something, and it was like this, it's not gonna work, guys. Like, which I respect that they're trying, but I'm like, oh, heartbreaking.
Well, it's like
just not enough time.
There was like less than 2 minutes left, and I'm just like, you're gonna have to have an out lap, and then you're gonna have to have a fast lap, so,
right?
I mean,
it was like no way that was gonna happen.
No.
So that was disappointing for him. Yeah, both of them, Lando and Logan, out in Q1 from those issues, and then in Q2 we had Max out in Q2, and I was like, oh my God, my manifestations have worked. I had candles lit. Like, I thought that this was going to be it for him. I really did.
Because he had like, it seemed like he had major engine issues.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole car just was like,
and then if you were looking at his onboard screen, it like pretty much turned off. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, they're not going to be able to fix it. Like, this is what I manifested. He wasn't going to finish this race.
Oh, yeah. So that put him down in like
15th place to start, which I think they were saying that he hasn't been out in Q2 since like 2020 or 2021. Like, it's been years and years and years since he's not made it all the way through Q3. So that was shocking for him. I mean, I was shocked whenever that happened.
Oh, yeah. And it's hard to like start a weekend off like that, you know?
Yeah,
so
totally.
And then you've got Ferrari with Carlos, who literally almost got knocked out too. I was like, what are you doing? And then, you know, of course he does his fast lap. Luckily he gets the time to get into the next qualifying round, but he comes over the radio and he's like, oh, I'm sorry for all the unnecessary stress. And I'm just like, so you know what was going on. So, like, what were you doing? Like, were you having issues, or, like, were you just out on a Sunday stroll? Like,
I don't know. I felt like he kept on getting, like he was waiting for, like, a perfect spot to, like, start his lap and, like, have not a lot of people in front of him so he wouldn't get traffic or something. But he was, like, wasting time. And, like, I don't know. It was stressful.
But wasting time and wasting tires. If you really think about it, you know what I mean? In fuel and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. I think, like he said, it was very unnecessary. And I'm like, okay, you could have just done another lap, and it's not your perfect lap, but at least it secures you into the next round.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Just get it done. I mean, you can't, like, it's so crazy with qualifying because I feel like you can't play around like that because you never know, especially at a track like this. Like, somebody could run into the wall and then the session's done. Yeah. And then you're out. So it was frustrating to see and kind of scary. I was like, oh my God, what's going on with him? But so, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to finish out qualifying, we had Checo on pole. Obviously Max having not been into Q3, so that really left Checo a great opportunity that he took advantage of. And then we had Charles in P2 and Fernando in P3. Which also too, I want to mention, Oscar got up to, I believe it was P9, and then he ended up being P8 at the start of the race because of Charles's penalty. Which was great for him. Rookie, you know, getting into Q3. He did a good job. It was a good performance for him. I was, like, impressed.
Yeah, for qualifying.
Oh, my God.
I'm giving a little tease into, like, what really happened.
A little teaser. Okay, so let's get into the race.
Yes.
So, getting into the race, we had Checo starting first, then Alonso, then George, then Carlos, and then like Lance, back behind that. I don't recall exactly, but out of place, we had Charles in 12th and then Max in 15th. But so anyways, right at the start, Alonso gets in front of Checo, which we were kind of like predicting because Checo just like, for whatever reason, like he doesn't have great starts. Alonso is like so aggressive. So like right off the bat, he just jumps in front of him. But then Alonso gets a penalty.
Yes. Poor Alonso and Esty. I mean,
I know.
They both. So speaking of the penalty, so he gets a penalty for improper grid start. And he was too far left in the grid box. But last weekend, Esty had the same problem.
Same issue.
And they brought it up after the race, and they were talking about like that whole penalty and stuff. And they said that they had changed something with their like grid procedure or start procedure. Remember Alonso was talking about it, and I was like, I'm wondering like what exactly changed.
But he said that threw him off.
Yeah, he was like, we'll have to work on that more. And I was like, I wonder like what has changed. Like, did the box change, the size, something like that? Maybe something so minute that when you're so used to doing it over and over again, when it's different, it's hard. Because this is like 2 races in a row that we've seen this, and we didn't see any of this last year.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking too. It's like something must be drastically different because 2 races in a row, like you said.
Yeah. Or they're just being stricter on it this year.
Yeah.
Compared to previous years.
Right. So, so he gets a 5-second penalty, which he was then going to go serve in the pits. When he does end up serving it, and this is what was shocking to me, is like everything seemed fine, and then at the end of the race it comes out that he's being investigated,
penalized,
for potentially not serving that penalty correctly, which like they had the whole race to like investigate that and decide what they were going to do,
especially because he pitted it like lap 30, between 25 and 30 or somewhere around there. And so I'm like, you have another 20 something laps to make a decision on, did he serve this incorrectly or did he serve it correctly? You know?
Right. Okay, so we'll get back to that because I think we're skipping over the safety car and everything, because he ended up pitting during that safety car.
Yep.
And the safety car was due to, oh my God, who had the safety car?
Lance Stroll.
That's right. His teammate.
Lance Stroll. His teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had brake issues. He was, and you could tell even at the beginning of the race, like before the race even started, Lance was, I think he was in 5th or something like that. And you can see back and you can just see like smoke coming up from the start
from his brakes.
Like looking down at, well, not his brakes, but looking down the like starting grid line, you can just see smoke coming out of one side, and that's when they said that it was Lance, and it was his brakes were getting so hot. So it was kind of interesting to see that, like, okay, at the beginning of the race, clearly something's going on, and then of course probably midway through the race, again his brakes were way too hot and they were catching fire. And caused a safety car. And that was actually, this safety car was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it was very controversial on calling the safety car.
Yeah. See, like, even I think between us, because I was like, they don't need a safety car for this. Like, he's not on the track. Like, he wasn't in the way.
So, like, what he did, so most of the time they were talking about, you know, they will deploy a safety car on that track because it's so narrow. And most of the time it's very, very unsafe. Well, like, Lance, he was pretty, like, smart about it. I mean, he, like, pulled up on the side, turned in, down, like, one little of the, like...
exit area.
Yeah. And, like, he was a little bit, maybe the back end of his car was a little bit out, but, like... I don't know. I was like, maybe that's why, because his car was a little bit out, but I don't know. I wasn't exactly sure why they deployed it.
So they ended up saying, too, that the GPS was showing his car on the track still, and that's why they ended up deploying the safety car, because I think, like you said, the rear wing was like kind of on the track still. And so it was showing up on GPS, like he was still on the track. And so just to be out of caution, they had the safety car.
Yeah. But I wonder then, like, if they need to look at not only GPS footage, but they have so many cameras, and like maybe they can have some type of trigger point, like a line that lasers across like different points where like as long as they're past this point, like we don't need to deploy a safety car, because honestly that changed the game for a lot of people.
It really did.
I mean, I don't think Red Bull, Mercedes, any of them had pitted yet.
Right. So it changed the game for anybody that hadn't pitted yet. Like they got a cheap pit stop basically. And then it sucked for Ferrari because they had just pitted literally like the lap before, both of them. Yeah. And so that was kind of like dang it.
That's yeah. But no one knew Lance's brakes were going to catch on
you
fire.
Can't tell the future. Of course. Yeah.
So Lance's safety car was the only safety car of the whole race. Yeah. And the only like event of the whole race.
Really? I mean, if you look at outside of like Albon, who later on in the race also had brake issues, but he didn't, like, he coasted himself into the pit, and so didn't require a safety car or a yellow flag or anything like that.
Yeah. The only thing with him though is he did an extra lap because he was concerned that he wasn't going to be able to brake at the speed he was going. So like,
which is scary.
Just see him. That is scary. Like, think about it. Not only for like you, but like all the other drivers who are flying past you. Right. And then also when you come in the pit lane, if you saw like all of his pit crew, they were like kind of
standing back, like, please don't run over me.
Exactly.
No, so thank God. I mean, he was able to stop the car safely, and like everything was good outside of him having to obviously DNF. But yeah, I mean, really outside of that, like I thought we were going to see like crashes and going back to the start of the race, there was some contact between Oscar and it was Gasly. It was Gasly. And Oscar had to then go and pit for a new front wing, like second lap of the race, which sucks. Yeah. And then Lando ended up having to pit for a new front wing because he ended up running over some of the debris from that contact that they had at the beginning of the race. So pretty much that left both of the McLarens like literally in the back, like just practicing. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was another like practice. Like they didn't have their engine issues that they had last race, but like they just like couldn't overcome that after that, and they were kind of just there in the back.
They've been really struggling.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised after we saw preseason testing, but I'm just very surprised overall this year what's happened with McLaren. I mean, I just feel like they are just falling apart, and it's just like they're falling apart so much that nobody can like grab all the pieces to try to hold it together. You know.
So I do have like some positive just news or updates, I guess, from them. And we haven't really gotten into this, but they are putting together like a whole new facility. They're going to have their own wind tunnel for the first time. And all of that's kind of falling into place for them. So pretty much they're not super concerned about their results up to this point because they feel like the later part of the season is going to be so much better for them. And they're really hoping, like, everyone keeps on talking about they're bringing a lot of upgrades to the Baku race, which is the Azerbaijan, at the end of April. So like they're expecting to have essentially like a completely different car at that point, which hopefully will be a lot better than the one that we currently have.
Yeah. Like, I mean, they have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad for both of these drivers. But too, I also thought it was interesting, like towards the end of the race when the team got on the radio and was telling Lando not to really battle with Oscar, or like don't give Oscar a hard time.
Yeah.
And like let him overtake you and whatever. And I'm like, while, you know, it doesn't, like, it wasn't for points. I really honestly, I think they were just trying to give Oscar like some overtaking practice.
Yeah.
At this point.
I think the other thing is, I don't think they want them fighting with each other, because I don't think they want any more issues with the cars, right? I think they were just like, let it be. If he gets up on you and he can pass you, just
let him pass you.
It is what it is what it is. Let's move on from this race. We're not in the points. It's not worth a wreck. You know?
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So while all of this is going on, we had Max, obviously, like we said, starting in 15th place. And he just like charged up to the front. I mean,
he was
as
like
he
a
does.
Like literally, he races for Red Bull, but he was literally a bull today.
He really
just
was
like full steam ahead for the flag.
Yeah, and like it didn't matter which car he was like coming up behind. No. Like nobody was an issue. He was passing them relatively like little effort, I felt like, on his part. I mean, just the car is so much faster. And I think too, like, they were before the race interviewing a lot of different drivers that were starting around the same spot that he was going to be starting in. And they were asking them, you know, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to try to battle with Max? Like, are you going to try to stop him? And everyone was like, no, like, that is not our race. That's not like our goal.
It's not worth it for them. They're going to destroy their tires, which they were like, nope, we have other battles that we want to pick. Not that one.
Yeah. And like, that just wasn't worth it for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that also too makes it a little bit easier for him to do what he does. But yeah, I mean, it was just like, eye roll, like, here he comes.
Yeah.
No matter who he got up behind, just flies by them. It's so easy. He makes it look like so effortless.
A walk in the park.
Yeah.
Like literally a walk in the park.
Sunday stroll. Just every week, all the time.
Yeah. So with that, do we want to talk about what the final standings then were?
Sure.
Okay.
So we had Checo winning this race.
Checo.
Yeah, which like we were super excited about, because I was just glad to see that Red Bull like didn't try to pull something of like, okay, Checo, Max has more pace than you, like, let him overtake you. And I was gonna be like, oh my god, no. Like, at least make it a little bit interesting.
Yeah, but he fought for it. I mean,
he did.
Literally,
he drove really well.
He did. And even Max was pushing. I mean, Checo was still 5-6 seconds ahead. And so I was like, you know what? You go, Checo.
Yeah. And so Checo got first place. Obviously, then Max second. Before we get into third place, just real quick. So I thought what was interesting, too, about that was pretty much every lap, like, Checo and Max were trading off the fastest lap of the race. So like, Checo would finish the lap, he would be fastest. Then Max would finish the lap, he would be fastest, so on and so forth. And if Checo would have gotten this win plus the fastest lap of the race, he would have overtook Max in the championship.
Which Max has he's led the drivers' championship for over the last 30 races.
Yeah, it's insane.
So that would have been a huge thing, to happen.
Right. And then like also too, like, there's never been a Mexican driver that's led the championship battle. So like that was like, they kept on talking about that, like, oh my gosh, if Checo gets this fastest point. And Max gets on the radio and he's like, what are we doing with the fastest lap? And the engineers were like, we essentially don't care about the fastest lap. Like,
yeah, we're not.
That's not important to us right now. And he was like, well, it's important to me. Yeah. Which is like, oh my god, you're such a brat. Like, let him like have his moment for 5 seconds.
Let him have this day. Like, you clearly next week are going to come out and you're going to have it. So
right.
Unless he's concerned about the curse, Alex.
He might be. Maybe that's why he was sweating it so hard, because I was like, oh my God, it's literally a point. You've like Courtney said, he's been leading the championship battle for like a million years at this point. Like, let your teammate have a day in the spotlight. But
especially
he's stressed.
But especially a teammate who has been there, fought off other drivers so that Max can win,
Right. I mean, yeah. So that happened. And then we had Alonso finishing third at the end of the race.
So we thought.
Fully did the whole podium, did the whole like interviews after the race, did everything. He was up there spraying champagne, having the best time of his life, really enjoying it. And then after the race, the stewards come out and say that he has a 10-second penalty, and George was then promoted to third place.
And the hard part was I think Aston Martin thought if he got a penalty for that, it was only going to be a 5-second penalty. Right. And they were like, because they kept coming on the radio and they were like, let's shoot to have 5 seconds, 5 seconds faster in front of Russell, blah, blah, blah. And, we were talking like you, me, our husbands and stuff. And I was like, well, wait, like Esty last weekend, I mean, when he didn't serve his penalty correctly, he got 10 seconds. So why would you get 5 this week? So I think there was some confusion. Yeah. But there's some confusion maybe from the teams on like how, like what the true penalty for that is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because even last week, I think Esty and all of them over at Alpine were thinking the same thing. Like, oh, it's just a 5-second penalty. So when they came back with 10, everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah. But no, so it's like, they compound on each other, right? So like, if you didn't do the 5-1, yeah, I agree with that. I think that's totally like correct, and that's the way
and logical
to handle it. Yeah, it makes sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, sad for Fernando who missed out on that podium, but I'm happy for George.
Yeah, but not only did he miss out on a podium, he missed out on his 100th podium.
Oh, I know, but you know what? To me, I'm like, that just gives him. Because he got to celebrate the podium. I mean, let's be real. Like, he was up there fully living his best life, spraying champagne on Max, spraying champagne on Checo, like shaking all of the shake people's hands, like whatever, doing all of that. So now next time when he gets a podium, which it will happen again this season because they're so, like, doing so well, he'll just get to celebrate it again.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Hello, this is Editing Alex, and we filmed this right after the race was done. So we had gotten the update that Alonso's podium had been given to George, but then about a couple hours after the race was done, the stewards came back and said that they had reversed that and given the podium back to Alonso. So they made the decision not to give him the 10-second penalty, and now he's back in P3. So he does get to celebrate that 100th podium, or he already did. And he doesn't get that taken away from him after Aston Martin asked to review that decision, and the stewards decided to overturn the penalty. So that is all. Thank you. Bye.
For sure.
With that, I want to talk about then, or not talk, but like just say the driver standing championship right now.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're at. So Max is leading it right now with 44 points. Then you have Checo with 43, Alonso with 27, and Russell with 21. And it, from there, anyone behind that is down, I think the next Leclerc was 2 down and he's got 6 points. And then the person in between that is Lance with 8. So there's a huge, right now there's a huge gap between fourth and the rest of, the drivers. So,
well, and 2, you've got Carlos. Carlos has 20 points.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, Carlos is leading for Ferrari. It's really interesting. It's really interesting to see Fernando up there.
Well, not only that, but like it's just a weird mix this year.
Yeah.
Like you got
really
Russell, you
is.
got Alonso. I mean, of course, the Red Bulls, but you're just like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, and then in the team side too, you've got Red Bull in first, then Mercedes, which is kind of shocking because like I feel like they haven't been doing that great.
Well, they podiumed last weekend, and then I guess they podiumed this weekend again.
Right.
If you think about it. And so I think they've just been like consistently just right, like
towards the
there.
front.
Like, yeah, like no one's noticing them, but no one's like,
well, and I feel like they're making such a big deal about like all the issues that they're having and like how unhappy they all are over there that it's kind of shocking to see them at second.
And maybe that's what it is too. Is just like how they're coming up. Yeah, they're deflecting. So
yeah, but so then you have Aston in third, and then Ferrari's in fourth. So they need to get it together.
Yeah, but it's a long season. This is only the second race weekend, so there's a lot to come.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
for sure.
Well, our next race is in a few weeks in Australia.
Right.
Which should be a lot of fun. And then we've got, a long couple, like a month off before we go back to the Middle East.
Yeah.
So,
do we want to talk about our predictions our predictions were huge fails just across the board for both of us?
I was like, I don't even know if I want to discuss mine because mine's a literal joke. So.
Yeah, we failed hard. I had Charles P1, Alonso P2, Lance P3. I had my hot take, Max would not finish.
You were close.
I was close. I mean, he did get knocked out of quali, so
and he did have drive.
Go ahead.
He had drive shaft issues at the end of the race, which we thought maybe would be a bigger issue. So.
Right. It really was holding out that he would just like have to pull over and not be able to finish. Sorry, Max fans. Then Courtney had Max P1, Charles P2, Fernando P3, and then both Williams in the points was your hot take, which neither of them got points. So we will try again next time. We've got to improve on that.
For sure.
Also, so I just want to say a couple more things real quickly. So, WAGs this weekend, there was like no one was there. No. I kept on checking the WAGs accounts, like where are all the girls at? Like, why aren't they here? And then I thought about it and I was like, maybe they like don't want to go to Saudi. Like, is it like not like the vibe? I don't know.
Or maybe like, you never know, like George's girlfriend, she has an actual job, so maybe she was had busy. Meetings. She was busy.
Well, so she's
other
been
ones
doing
have
better.
Different events, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's true. But yeah, so we literally like at least that were photographed, there was none. Carlos's girlfriend was skiing with some friends in Andorra. Carmen seemed to be like she was like at home and she was with her friends hanging out. She looked like she's doing a lot better because she's been having some health issues. And then I saw Checo's wife, Corolla, was in Mexico with her kids hanging out. So,
and we didn't see Kevin's daughter or his wife.
No, yeah, like there was like nobody was like there. I was like, what? This is weird. Like not one person. And then, do we want to talk about Angela really quick?
Oh yeah.
R.I.P. to the Angela and Lewis relationship. Waiting for like more solid details on that, but at this point, like they both released statements saying that, you know, they were ending their 7-year-long working relationship together. Angela being Lewis's trainer. And yeah, I mean, they were both like, you know, we wish each other the best, and Angela's off to her next step
adventure.
in her next adventure, next step in her career, whatever she might be doing. But I think that this is red flaggy. I think that something happened because that's like very abrupt. Like I feel like Angela wouldn't just like, well, okay, so then why didn't she just, if she was gonna leave, why didn't she just leave at like before the beginning of the season?
Well, you never
Like
know.
we just
like
started
maybe
the season.
No, but maybe, Lewis was like, just stay, all these things. Like,
Yeah.
after a working relationship that has done so well for that long, I think it's hard to say goodbye, and it's hard to cut those ties and, like, make those decisions that, like, okay, yes, this is the best thing for me personally in my career, in my life, So I just think maybe it just honestly could be that she didn't want to say. She probably asked to leave, and he said yes, but at the same time tried to convince her to stay, and or you never know, maybe a better opportunity came up and she's just ready for that, or maybe she's just ready for
opportunity.
I don't know, maybe she wants to start her own business or do something like that, or maybe she just is ready to take a step back and like spend time with family, friends, and not travel so much,
Yeah. I think that's a really good point because she does have kids. This is like, what, 22 races on the calendar, 23 races.
It's like
traveling all over the place.
Yeah, like 9 months of the year. Like, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It is. It is. Some of the rumors I heard, though, were like that because Lewis made comments after this last race about being unhappy with the car and that, quote unquote, the team like didn't listen to him with what he wanted to see on the car or different changes he wanted to make. And that was like the comments were kind of like ugly. Like they were not very nice per se. And so and then he later on came out and apologized for all of those. So some of the rumors going around with the Angela split were that like Angela didn't agree with what he had said in those comments, and like she was not happy with the way he's been acting, and she was like, you know what, I'm out. I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so either.
I think you said, it has
every driver has had their moments that have said things, done things. It's like a roller coaster, up and down, and emotional, physical, everything. And it's not like he is standing by his comments. He came out and he apologized.
He apologized for him. Yeah.
I just think it's more personal for her. Like, and not personal towards him, but just herself. Like, I want to spend time with my kids. I want to try this other thing. Like, this has run its course. Like, this has been a great part of my life, but you know what? I'm on the next
time
phase,
to move
next
on.
chapter. Yeah.
Right. Well, too, and then like, I mean, she might have signed on for a certain amount of years and really been thinking like that at this point Lewis would have retired and she would be moved on to something else, and then he's still like wanting to go out and continue doing what he's doing, and she's, like you said, just ready for the next thing. So I think that, like you said, that's probably what's most likely going on here.
Yeah. But to be determined. We'll find out in the coming weeks.
We will keep you posted for sure. Yeah. But okay, so we'll probably do because we don't have a race next week, so we'll probably have to think of like a fun little topic for us to talk about for next Monday.
Or if any of our listeners have a fun topic,
have suggestions.
We reach out on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and
let us know what you want to hear. I've got a list of some different stuff. Like I wanted to talk about like James Hunt. I wanted to talk about that guy that Fangio that got kidnapped. So like maybe we'll do some of those little fun stories, kind of like our not like a conspiracy, but just like a fun little history story or something that we can chat about. But if you guys have suggestions, definitely let us know. We're always looking out for ideas. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
So but okay. Well, so that is it for us for today. Fun race. We're looking forward to Australia in a couple weeks. Get ready, Courtney, because that race is at midnight our time.
Oh, God bless. I don't know.
So take a nap.
Me.
Or I have a feeling we're going to be watching the replay. I'll be up. I'll be watching it in real time because I'm a night owl.
Oh, yeah. I wish.
But all right. Well, you can listen to our episodes anywhere you get your podcasts. Like Courtney mentioned, we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram at Queens of the Paddock. So please reach out. Leave us a nice comment, rate and review and subscribe and share our podcast with your friends and family. But that is it for us for today. So this has been Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney. Lights out and away we go.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.